Greetings, Warlords. Rodge here. We're taking a look at the Chaos Dwarves, or Chaos Dwarfs, whichever you prefer. I've always had a soft spot for these guys, going back to my early days in the hobby back in the 90s. Picked up a huge lot of them off eBay probably 10, 11, 12 years ago now. It was a pure nostalgia purchase. Didn't really have a plan for them, so they sat up until about 2 years ago, where I finally put together a force to use in SAGA Age of Magic. So first up, we have the greenskins. Unlike a lot of folks, I'm no purist when it comes to my Chaos Dwarves. I like the mixed aspect. These Goblin Archers are plastic, and they actually predate the Goblin Spearmen from the 4th edition box set you probably saw. Games Workshop had a plastic box set that was like one monopose warrior for a variety of different armies. There's a dwarf, a dark elf, a wood elf in there, and they had a goblin bowman here. I was able to pick these up off of eBay. Didn't seem like the owners really knew what they had, or there's no particular demand for these extremely old goblins, somewhere in the range of 35, 40 years old. I've got 9 of these archers painted, and I've got enough unpainted ones. I could get them up to 2 units of 12 if I needed to. Moving on to the classic Goblin Spearmen. Now, I did have the 4th edition box set as a kid, but those models are long gone, so these were new ones off eBay. There were a few random ones where I had to glue on some new spearheads. So this warband was really my first test run of the Army Painter's speed paints. Each color was sort of given a speed paint base coat. Then I couldn't help myself. I went and did some Nadiral airbrush shading. So essentially shooting purple and black from the bottom up to add some depth. Then applied some manual highlights using scale color paints, and bing bang boom. So you can see the effect is pretty good, except for the blues. I really hated the speed paint blue. It definitely wasn't what I was going for. So all the blues were painted over with Ultramarines blue. You can see I'm really leaning into the primary colors of those early days of Warhammer. So these 2 dwarfs were the test models for the warband. Got a ton of these axe guys, but so far these are the only 2 that are painted. Just a minor difference in the leather and mainly the red. Moving on, the Masters of the Under-Earth in SAGA Age of Magic can get a Destruction Team. So I was racking my brain on what to use. Originally, I was going to just have a couple of blunderbusses on a base, but was running out of time for an event, so I just decided to throw the Death Rocket Crewman on his own base here. So instead of shooting him out of the rocket cannon, he's just running around the battlefield, lighting off rockets manually with a lighter or something at close range. So these guys have kind of goldish, true metallic metal masks. I wanted the gold to be distinct from the yellow on everything. So the yellow is just meant to be yellow, not gold or anything. They're just weirdos painting their armor red, blue, and yellow. Now on to the Bull Centaurs. I absolutely love these models. For painting, I didn't mention, but I did do the speed paints over a zenithal highlight. And the red skin is just a zenithal with the red speed paint, and then the Nadiral purple shading from the bottom, and that's it. I didn't go back and highlight their skin. I thought it looked good enough on its own. So you've already maybe shouted this question at the screen, but the shields are not the original shields. At that time, it was just flat circular shields, and you'd use decals. I did think about maybe trying to recreate that, but in the end, I went in with some 3D printed shields from my buddy Nathaniel. These come from the Fabalzal Chaos Dwarf range that is absolutely amazing. They fit right in with the old GW stuff, and they're just so cool. I've got a few of them, and I definitely want to add more to this collection. This guy here is my absolute favorite. His helmet is a little different than the rest, but suitably large. I could just look at this guy all day and think, damn, I like this guy. Now, if the bull centaurs weren't impressive enough, we've got the dragon ogres. Now, I know these were not included in the original Chaos Dwarf army back in the day, but I mean, come on. Look at these things. These are some of the best models that they've ever made. So I am actually correcting a mistake that they made back in the day. Dragon ogres and Chaos Dwarves, they hang out. All right. So I don't want to hear anything from that comments section, okay? Like I said, the blue speed paint was pretty crap, so I ended up painting over it. So all the shading and stuff here is pretty manual. Love the green scales, and that's something I'm going to be doing on future Chaos Dwarf models, is working in green somewhere, because that color is probably the best one that turned out using this method. All right, getting back to some proper Chaos Dwarves. We have the Sorcerer here. Gave him a lot more blue to kind of differentiate him from the other Chaos Dwarves. He's got those back banners like a lot of characters had at the time. I originally did intend to give these guys some banners, but I was in a rush to finish these for an event initially. Then when I went back, I printed out some of the original standards to kind of paint on. I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling confident I could paint up the banners and then attach them in a way that looked good. I'm sure I could figure it out, but it just seemed like a huge hassle. So we're just leaving them as is. All right, this little cheeky guy here is the alchemist for my Masters of the Under-Earth Age of Magic warband. So originally his left hand, I think, was just like a little shield nub to give him a shield, but I chopped that away and sculpted a little hand holding a bomb, and looks pretty good from the front, little jacked up from the side. Another fun guy. He's got an interesting helmet that's slightly different from the rest. Moving on to the Warlord. I normally don't do this, but I was somehow motivated to do the command squad route for this guy. Probably because he's so small. He'd look pretty sad on a 50mm round base. So, gave him the musician and the standard. And once again, I did intend to have a little banner flying there, but couldn't quite manage the motivation. For basing, I mounted all the heroes on some wood chips for some extra height over the rank and file. Otherwise, it's just, sandy flock and rocks, dark gray, dry brushed with a metallic dark blue, and some other random metallic highlights mixed in there. The idea would be that they're in some sort of underground cavern. In any case, I really like how this multi-based Warlord went, so you might be seeing that again in the future. All right, last model for now, but he's a doozy. This is a conversion. I put the Lamassu head on top of a Minotaur Lord body. I took quite a bit of green stuff on the back of the head there, but hopefully you can't tell. I ended up painting this guy quite a ways after the initial batch. I ended up not needing him for that first event, so he kind of just sat by himself for probably about a year and a half. Can use this as a Titan in Age of Magic, or as a Warlord on a beast if I was so inclined. The idea would be, the Chaos Dwarf Lord took some potion or was part of some kind of experiment and grew to enormous size. I went for darker skin like the official paint job on the Lamassu, just to mix it up. And I think I used either the black or the dark gray speed paint. It worked pretty good, but I think I did have to do a lot of manual highlights on it. Turned out as a great centerpiece, though. Hopefully you agree. That's going to do it for the warband at this time. I definitely have plans to add to it. I've got more Goblin Archers, Death Rocket, Earthshaker. I've got tons of infantry, the Great Axes, and the Blunderbusters. I want even more green skins. I'm picturing some black orcs and like heavily encrusted plate mail from the Chaos Dwarf armories. You know, some conversions there. For the Hobgoblins, you know, getting the originals is really expensive, and the quantities you need are quite difficult to obtain. So I'm looking more at the Fabelzal. His Hobgoblins are awesome and fit right in. So I might get some of those, add some 3D prints. And, there's crazy just Saga Age of Magic stuff. I've always thought the Chaos Dwarves should get a War Wagon or something like that. So I might do some conversions there. So hopefully this is just the tip of the spear, but no plans in the near future to get back to it. So I thought I'd put this video out now, and I guess in a couple of years we'll see how they've come along. Thanks for watching. If you got questions on the models or painting or anything, definitely post below. Otherwise, best of luck in all your future battles, be they on or off the tabletop. Check you later, guys. Saga! If you'd like to see more Saga content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon, or popping on down to the Saga Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.